While comments are certainly one of the richest features of a weblog, archiving is an extremely important piece of keeping that weblog alive, active, and content-rich. Let's go ahead and take a look at the archive page by clicking on the archiving link on the submenu. The first entry that we see is archive frequency. Let's talk a little bit about that and how you might best make the decision for the option that is appropriate for you. As you can see, as I click the menu, there are a number of options here. First, there's no archive. Then there's a daily archive, a weekly archive, and a monthly archive. You see that the default is monthly, and I personally prefer this for a number of reasons. It's certainly the best place, in my opinion, to start out if you are brand new to blogging. You probably aren't going to be writing so many posts and getting so many comments that, using another setting is going to be to your benefit. So leave it at monthly for now. However, let's talk a little bit about the other options. The weekly option, for example, is good to use when you find yourself publishing every single day and possibly you get a lot of comments and things like that. So maybe you want to keep a weekly, because you want to remember that the way the archive system works is it'll publish a single page. So the entire page is filled with that full month or full week of archive. So if you have, 20 posts a day, a monthly archive is going to be very, very long. Whereas if you have only a few posts a day, a monthly archive is not going to be very long. So you have to sort of determine which is the best, route for you based on the amount of content that you've got going on. A daily archive is helpful when you have very, very active website and a lot of people use their blogs just as a constant way of showing other people great links that they're finding as they're working or playing on the web. So depending upon how you use your blog, you may determine that there will be daily, weekly, or monthly archives. Now, the no archive option, I want to talk a little bit about this. No archives, to me, is very silly. Okay, why would you create a blog without archives? Well, there may be cases that, for some reason, you do determine that no archives are appropriate for you. So I'm glad that Blogger offers you that option. However, I don't think that, creating a blog without archives makes any sense. I'll give you an example. If you're looking for rich conversation and longevity of content on your website, which a blog can really help you do, an experience that happened to me is about a year ago, I wrote a blog entry on what I thought of a Quiznos submarine sandwich commercial. For those of you unfamiliar, Quiznos is a sandwich shop in parts of the United States. And they had a couple of commercial campaigns on TV that I found really disturbing, and I wrote about them on my weblog. Well, apparently, I wasn't the only person who found them disturbing, because this particular post, a year later, is still getting comments. So the discussion is alive a year into the process. Now, certainly, the cool part about that is that it's constantly generating new content, making my whole site experience a more rich experience for the people who come to visit. The downside of that, as you could probably imagine, is that you have something going on for that long, the amount of document space that's taken up, the amount of space on your server, that could really start to become an issue if you have very, very, very active weblog. So you have to kind of balance, how much archiving you're going to do based on, how much space you have, what kind of service provision you have, that sort of thing. But in most cases, if you have a standard service provision and you're actually publishing to your own web server, having archives is a very good idea. Keeping the conversation alive makes your site so much more rich and interesting to people who come visit it. So I highly recommend going ahead and choosing an archive frequency type. And my preference right now, as I've mentioned, is going to be monthly. So I'll go ahead and set it to monthly. And there you go.